Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at race number 10 at Churchill Downs on Saturday, the second of two graded stakes races on the program. It's the Commonwealth Turf. Let's take a look at this field of three-year-olds going a mile and a 16th on the lawn for $300,000. 9 entered the race, including the number 3 Dashman, who's the 5-2 morning line favorite. They stretched this horse all the way out last time out in the Jockey Club Derby for his first start against stakes competition, and he ran okay.
Yeah, he ran really, really well in there. It was a good field. It was a longer distance. He did not have a particularly clean trip in that race, and almost certainly would have been closer at the end had he gotten one. His recent form is very, very good. Dan, he's got to cut back in distance a little bit here.
Let's see where our friends at Timeform US have him on the pace projector after the opening half mile. And not surprisingly, as he turns back in distance, he might be outrun by the faster fractions. I didn't have on my bingo card for the Bryan Station at Keeneland that my boy Prince was going to go 44 and change to the half. But I guess with that kind of speed, he's making the front again.
I mean, just went way too fast last time, paid the price. He had shown speed in his prior races, though, Dan. The Woodbine Mile 2 back, he didn't break great, wound up wide. I mean, I guess maybe they didn't want to, wind up with that kind of a trip in the Bryan Station. They just sort of let this horse roll early, and he went too fast.
A horse with the fastest Timeform US late pace ratings, a big price in here. That's the 2 Telescopic, a horse that was beaten against allowance competition last time out. Also cross-entered in a race at Churchill Downs on Thursday. Let's start things off with my boy Prince. He was second in the King's Plate earlier this year. He's been very aggressively handled in his last 2 starts as a 3-year-old off the plate. They ran him on turf in the Woodbine Mile. I think he did the best he could in that race. He altered widest turning into the stretch, and he finished one-paced fashion without threatening. As you mentioned in the Bryan Station, he just went way too fast on the lead. I think he's more rateable than that.
Yeah, he certainly is. I'm not sure, that necessarily was the plan last time, but that's how it worked out. He just went way too fast in there, and he paid the price. I get just looking at him and saying he's got excuses for his last 2 starts. Then the pace last time, the Woodbine Mile, where he sort of bobbled at the start, so they decided to rate him, and he wound up wide, and he just, kind of wasn't good enough. If you want to dress him up that way, I'm okay with that. This horse has some talent. There's no doubt about it. He's going to get probably a better trip in this race. I'm just not that big a fan.
Telescopic is the number 2. He came out of the Hawthorne Derby 2-back, a race where several horses got banged around. He finished 4th. Victoria Oliver is a very underrated trainer, dropped her into a first-level allowance race, and I thought Telescopic ran sneaky well, not good enough to win this race, but sneaky well in that I thought he made a move just as the pace heated up, and that was too much for him.
Yeah, I agree with you. His last 3 starts, they've sort of concentrated on longer distances with him, Dan, and so we'll see how much he's affected as he drops all the way back to a mile and a 16th here, because he's a horse who just doesn't really have a lot of speed. I realized they tried to do something a little different last time, and it didn't work out. We'll see, what kind of trip he can work out in here. He's got to take a step forward in here at a really big price.
Dashman returned from a lengthy layoff as a 3-year-old and has just found himself for trainer Brian Lynch. He won his first 2 starts. And then didn't he get the old Naira turf ride last time out in the Jockey Club Derby where he broke well? And they said, we're just going to take a hold of him and save ground. I realized the pace was hot, but they wound up tracking the runner-up Deterministic, wound up getting shuffled turning into the stretch, and he still ran on a little bit at the end. The distance might have been a little far.
Yeah, he just lost his chance there. Yeah, I didn't necessarily feel like the distance was too far for him, Dan. I just feel like the trip didn't work out for him. And, I'm not going to sit here and point fingers at Manny Franco either. I understand what he was doing there, just sort of saving ground, tanking along off the pace, but he just happened to get the winner move up alongside him there and boxed him in at the top of the stretch. He just couldn't get out. When he finally did get out, it was way too late. The race was over. He actually ran really, really well in there. He's going to cut back in distance here. We'll see if that affects him at all. I'm not sitting there suggesting he's a lock as the favorite in this race, but he's going to be pretty tough in here.
Axar Ben Derby won the Hawthorne Derby. Let's take a look at that race last time out. His second consecutive win. This race, 1 mile and an 1/8 on the turf. He's in behind horses. He's waiting for somewhere to run. And there's the hole. And he's going to take advantage of the hole, and he's going to split him and get up to win by a head. He really took advantage of a fast pace in here. A couple of other horses got into trouble as well, but the runner-up at least came back to run 3rd in a second-level allowance against older horses at Churchill with an 89 buyer.
We still like the way he finishes up in here when he did get that fully clear there in the late stages. I like the way that he kicked on there and closed that race down. That was a good performance. I liked his maiden win 2 starts back as well, a race that didn't have a ton of pace for him to come after, but he still closed that one down. he was only second best to Dashman. 3 starts back, but he ran fine in that race too. This horse is trending the right way right now for a really good trainer.
Piper's Factor is a very tactical sort that can work out his own trip. Last time out, he was wired in the Gio Ponte at Aqueduct. Again, I thought the trip was there for him, but maybe the pace wasn't. The runner-up at least came back to run third, and the Hill Prince with an 87 buyer. I think this horse is a little bit underrated.
Yeah, I agree with you too. I feel like I'm being a little too hard on him maybe for the Gio Ponte, because I actually thought he was interesting in that race and thought he would run better than he did, but he did get wired in there. His race up in Canada, the Turf debut two-back, I just thought he ran really, really well in that race. He got a figure for it. It was over yielding ground, but I still like that performance. He could rebound in here at a price.
Number 6 is Will Take It. He's run well without winning in both turf starts, including this race at Keeneland last time out, an allowance where he was wired. He tried to rally from far, far back in here, and we're going to see him get involved at the very end to finish third. This is a horse that, to me, you got to just time right. It's not like he has a ton of early speed. I think you can get him into the race early. To me, it's imperative that he gets covered up and finishes.
Yeah, you're right. We'll see if everything just sort of breaks his way in here. I'm not going to knock this horse at a really big price, Dan, but I'm not sure that he's the best closer in this race, and he's way up in class.
Laginos is the number 7. He's a consistent horse. He's solid. He just doesn't win very often, and I think some of it has to do in that he's a little bit unlucky in his races, and I think some of it has to do in that he just doesn't have the explosiveness that some of the others has. He seems like sort of a one-paced runner. He got the setup last time out in the Bryan Station, but then he ran into trouble in the stretch.
Yeah, I agree. We'll talk about that one a little bit, Dan, because you're right. He was sitting back there when the pace was fast, but didn't you feel like maybe he was a little unlucky in there? I was unsure how much of an excuse I wanted to give him in there, but he was certainly, blocked coming down to about mid-stretch there as the 1-2 finishers both got the jump on him from behind. So, maybe he just ran a little bit better than it looks last time. They're going to switch to Pratt for this. He's a very tactical kind of horse. He can get any kind of a trip. Shorter distances are better for this guy. I don't know, man. I could easily make a case for him. I'm just not sure that if I want to bet him in this race.
A horse that's all upside is the 8 Herchi. 4 starts, 4 on the board finishes, and he finished ahead of 3 of these in the Bryan Station. This is the race where Laginos finishes 5th. Herchi got a good trip overall, but I think it's worth noting he was close to that extremely fast pace in a race that was dominated by closers. The first 2 finishers came from 10th and 11th after the first half mile, and the fact that Herchi is still in it at the 16th pole is a very good sign.
I agree with you. You saw him there sort of drift out there at mid-stretch, and that was Laginos who was sort of right behind him there. That maybe took the worst of that there. I don't know, Dan. I'm not going to blame the rider there, but I'm not sure why he just didn't back off a little bit there. That pace was way too fast, and he just didn't back off up the backstretch. He just kept chasing it the entire way. I thought this horse ran really, really well, and there might be the horse that you want out of that Bryan Station. And you add that with all the potential that he showed in his first 3 starts. He ran really well in all of those too. This horse, he's pretty good, and he's a dangerous horse in this race.
Evade, the number 9, is another horse that has a strong chance in here. A stakes winner overseas sprinting. They ran him at Kentucky Downs in his first start in North America, and he ran okay. Again, we don't really take too much of what goes on at Kentucky Downs that seriously, because it's a course that a lot of horses don't seem to like. And last time out in the Bryan Station, he ran just fine to finish 4th. He did make a move into the fast pace and then was bowled over by the deep closers that got the setup. So I think he's still unexposed.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you too. I mean, I didn't really know what to make of him here. They obviously shot for the grade 1 in the big purse at Kentucky Downs. His first start over here, that's fine. Personally, the Bryan Station, I didn't see his excuse in there. I thought Gaffalione did everything right in that race and gave this horse a real shot to win it, and he just wasn't good enough. Maybe he'll do a little bit better here.
Let's take a look at our top picks. Grade 3 Commonwealth, second of 2 graded races at Churchill on Saturday. And I know you're a fan of Herchi. I don't think he's going to have to work as hard to get close to the pace in here. I think there's a chance he gets the jump on everybody turning into the stretch.
That's why I took him. I think he's pretty good anyway. I think he's going to get a better trip this time. I was conflicted about what to do with Laginos. He was the other horse for me, Dan, 8-7.
A lot of respect for Herchi for me. My second pick, Dashman, is where I'm going to go. I just think he was a little bit unlucky last time out. Deterministic, the runner-up, came back to win the Hill Prince, a grade 3 with a 93 buyer. We'll see how he reacts to cutting back significantly in distance. But I don't want to take too short of a price on anybody in this race because it does seem wide open. 8-7-3-4 for Mike, 3-8-9-4 for me, and the grade 3 Commonwealth Turf at Churchill Downs on Saturday. Best of luck. Hey buddy, you look like you're in need of a winner, and just remember, if you like and subscribe right over here, you can get all of the great content on DRF.com, including Race of the Day, stakes previews, and lots more, featuring me and my superb selections. Trust me, you're not going to regret it.